Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stattar Satashishimat. His Divine Grace Love Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Bibli Founder Acharya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Shabada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Astattar Satashishimat. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो से कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। ब्रज वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी महारानी की जय। समावेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to Assembly. All glories to Assembly. All glories to Assembly. Glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
Holiness Vedavyasapriya Maharaj ki.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, Canto first, chapter number 8, and text number 39. Brahman Sutta Vilapanam Anmilya Sanakaihi Netre Rashtva Cha Amshe Amrita Uragam Savangirso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam Savangirso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam Savangirso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam Savangiraso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam Savangiraso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam
Savangiraso Brahman
Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre Drashtva Chanse Mritoragam Savangiraso Brahman Shrutva Sutta Vilapanam Unmilya Sanakair Netre
दृष्ट्वा चांसे मृतोरगम्
सावांगिरसो ब्राह्मण
श्रुत्वा विलापनम् उन्मील्य सनके नेत्रे दृष्ट्वा चांसे मृतोरगम् सावांगिरसो ब्राह्मण श्रुत्वा विलापनम् उन्मील्य सनके नेत्रे दृष्ट्वा चांसे मृतोरगम्
सह he why also Angirasah the rishi born in the family of Angira Brahman Oshanaka Srutva on hearing Sutta of his son Vilapanam crying in distress Unmilya opening Shanakai gradually Netre by the eyes Drishtva by seeing Cha also Amshe on the shoulder Mrita dead Puragam snake. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. O Brahmanas, the Rishi, who was born in the family of Angira Muni, hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes and saw the dead snake around his neck. Text number 40. Visrujya tancha prapancha vatsa kasmadi rodashi Kena vate apakrita abhyuttaha sa nyanvedyat. Visrajya, throwing aside tam, that cha also, prapacha asked, Vatsa, my dear son, kasmat, for what? He certainly, rodasi, crying, kena, by whom, va, otherwise, they, apakritam, misbehaved, Itithas uktaha, being asked, Saha the boy, Nyavadayat, informed of everything. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. He threw the dead snake aside and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone had done him harm. On hearing this, the son explained to him what had happened. The father did not take the dead snake on his neck very seriously. He simply threw it away. Actually, there was nothing seriously wrong in Maharaja Parikshit's act. But the foolish son took it very seriously and being influenced by Kali, he cursed the king. Then thus ended the chapter of happy history. Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mahavishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Padamaham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhantam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikakanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tattakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaseshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Devi Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namaha Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sava Angiraso Brahman Srutva Satu Vilapanam Unmilya Shanakir Netri Drashtva Chanse Mritodagam. A Brahmana, the Rishi who was born in the family of Angira Muni, hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes and threw a dead snake around his neck. And the next verse is, he threw the dead snake aside and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone has done harm him or him the harm. On the hearing this, the son explained to him what had happened. So this sloka, Srila Prabhupada later comments that this act of Shringi, simply by seeing, he imagined something which was impelled by the influenced by the age of Kali. How Kali influences the mind of even a Brahman who is supposed to be samadama tapa shaucham, all the qualities of self-control. That is his practice. And here the practice has been affected by the influence of Kali. And he does not have any more discrimination between what kind of act and what kind of misconduct would be justifiable. Instead, out of the anger, uncontrolled mind, which was demonstrated that if a live snake is there, then there was some question of being of a concern. But then this was a dead snake. So actually, Shamik Rishi does not see any harm. So when the dead snake was there, he pushed aside, threw aside from his shoulder. But Shringi, instead of even removing that snake, he showed the anger, and out of anger, the trembling and cursing and then crying. These are the sequential acts. He unleashed his anger. He cursed Parikshit Maharaj, and then he started crying. Generally, when something is wrong, we cry first. Then we start thinking whether we have to become angry or not. But the activity of removing the dead snake would be there. And on all these three aspects, Shringi was completely a failure. He did not do this thing. These are the indications that Brahmanas are supposed to be Shuchivrata. That's okay. And snake is supposed to be Ansuchi. But nonetheless, he can be removed and you have to take bath. What's the big deal? So Shamik Rishi did not take it very seriously. But his unqualified son, out of that so-called prestige of being born in Angirasa family, that was hurting. Somebody is doing insult to us by putting a dead snake on my father. So the bodily conception was more prominent. Not only that, unleashing the curse because of the ego was hurt. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are always in competition from Satyayuga. You know the famous story of Vishwamitra Muni and Vasishtha Muni. Both were so close friends, but seeing the physical condition of Vasishtha Muni, because he had a Kamdhenu cow. And that triggered a kind of a lesser and heartfelt what you call desire to have a cow. That triggered in Vishwamitra's heart. He was a Gadi Putra. He was supposed to be Kshatriya. But even though in close friendships, when such competitive aspect of material nature increase, then there will always be fight. And similarly, it went into the every Brahman and Kshatriyas. So later on, King Yayati's case is also very much familiar, that it's by the nature setting. He was passing through when two friends, Sarvishta and Devyani, were taking bath, keeping their clothes aside on the shore of a lake. And they heard that some man is passing through. So immediately they rushed just to cover their bodies. They took each other's clothes. And simply the clothes created a fight between these two girls. The clothes, because they wore each other's clothes. Then they started fighting like witches. How dare you put on my clothes? You are a lesser person. And other says, you are lesser. King says, we support the Brahmanas. We are your caretakers. So we are greater than you. And we guide you, the Kshatriyas. We are Brahminical nature, this way, that way. So Kali Yuga corrupted the mind. So in the beginning, how these Brahmanas get corrupted and their mind is corrupted. Instead of sticking to their own natural, what we call the character of Brahmanas. Brahmanas are known by the virtues they contain. Brahmajanati iti Brahma. When they start forgetting and stick to their physical status in this society only, they want to bank upon their what we call prestige, the profit, adoration, and distinction. They can easily get corrupted in this Kali Yuga. Kali influences all the good virtues, good qualities of a Brahma. So this is how the beginning of degradation of Brahmanas in Kali Yuga is indicated. So all these activities we saw that by the behavior of father and the son, it is completely two different things. Shrangi was very, very impatient. He does not deliberate an activity. Rather, superficially, he took the insult and unleashes the curse. And the curse for the Parikshit Maharaj to die because the snake which was killed, that is coming from the Takshak family. So a revengeful nature, even in Brahmanas, started, So this is quite an intricate thing, but one act leads to another, just like a chain reaction. And one tried to link up with why dead snake was used so Shringi can curse Parikshit Maharaj with the bite of a takshak. And you can see takshak can also, because takshak and all the demoniac products of Daitya, they will be predominating during this time. So the takshak is also having a treacherous set of mind. Later on we'll see he has to disguise in a garb of a Brahman, so nobody can suspect him that he has this nature, revengeful. But some of the rishis recognized and they warned him. Before biting Parikshit Maharaj, they warned him. But he ignored. Nonetheless, he went. They wanted to inform Parikshit Maharaj that be aware. Parikshit Maharaj was totally transcendental. So devotional service, even amongst the complete opposite character of Kali Yuga, that no good qualifications are there in Kali Yuga. Yet, a transcendental nature will supersede to compensate all good and bad deeds, which will be equal in the eyes of the supreme and very learned people. What is good, what is bad? Anyway, everybody's mind, even a learned person's mind in Kali Yuga is going to be affected. And they will not be properly deliberating what should be done, what should be done. Kim karma, kim karmeti, kavyapyatra mohita. Mudhoyam na vijanati, mamepya parvam devam. What is to be done, what is not to be done. Even a learned person will be bewildered at the time of critical moment, and they will forget because of this influence of Kali. But the transcendental process that was taken up by Parikshit Maharaj, he did not question. Prabhupada said, if Parikshit Maharaj is so powerful that if he wanted to counteract the curse, he could have done it. But what we are learning from this incident is that Kali Yuga has no good qualification. And because of that nature, we can't bank upon the heritage of culture that we inherit, because it's going to be corrupted from the influence of Kali, Maya, and the time. These are all three devouring factors of good virtues. And more the Kali Yuga advances, more degraded the nature would be. So here is just the beginning. And we should not be bewildered that, wow, what a setting, Yes, the setting is appropriate to convey the messages that we need to think. At the time of emergency, we have to think of Krishna. And Krishna will infuse the inspiration, and by which we will be able to take a particular decision. When Arjuna was facing, all the emergencies, he would always, put his attention to Lord Krishna. Always. Even though he knows the art of counteracting a Brahmastra later on released by Aswathama, he knows how to counteract. But he turns to Lord Krishna. My dear Lord, can you please guide me? What should I do? And Krishna says, you know how to withdraw. This rascal who has released the Brahmastra, he doesn't know how to retract it. But by your weapon, you will be able to retract and you know it. But that is the permission required. That is the Vaishnava etiquette. Even though we know it, we give full credit to our mentor. We give full credit to our Guru and his instruction. If we fail to do that, then the entire show of one's so-called ability to counteract it will be all failure. One will become eccentric rather than concentric. However, you may expand such kind of services, it will be counted as a social welfare and not devotional service. This is the situation, between the Ritviks and those who are sticking to Srila Prabhupada's, instructions. There's a gulf of difference. The Ritviks got, by the grace of the Lord, so much money, and they wanted to do all these activities at a large scale, biggest. They wanted this Akshay Patra, right? But they went out of the boundary of Prabhupada's instructions. And they are spreading such welfare activities, and government also is coinciding to do the midday meal program in India all over the continent, subcontinent. So, Madhu Pandit was great in their eyes, and he wanted to take full advantage of it. He got even Padma Bhushan about 2-3 years back. He received the title of honor. I said, a very good benevolent activity. But you can see now, the same government on one side eulogizing such great activity of ISKCON, because he's still using his institution as ISKCON. So it is a glory automatically given to ISKCON. But it compelled ISKCON and other centers to open up midday meal program too. It pressurized. Only Bangalore is doing and you guys are not doing. They do not know the internal rift is that he is going out of the boundary of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada told that nobody should go hungry within the 10-mile radius. Now 10-mile radius was intending that you can preach and bring people and give them sumptuous prasad in your temple, not go out in their home and give them. And Prabhupada began this particular thing. No, call them in your temple and feed them. Nobody should go hungry. Then somebody is coming, oh, why not? We will go to them and we'll feed. And they were going 400 and 500 kilometers away just to deliver the khichdi prasadam. Who knows how much good it will be after 3 hours. You should not consume. You should not consume prasadam, or you can't offer to Krishna even after 3 hours of cooking. And these guys want to simply count the number of plates distributed. Isn't it equivalent to McDonald's counting the number of burgers, sold? Billions and billions and billions burgers have been served. And how many billions of cows must have been sacrificed? What kind of activity is that? So Kali is entering, and these people do not know. And Prabhupada's instructions are not there. So now compulsory the same government who glorified Madhu Pandit is asking, now it is compulsory to feed all the kids 1 egg per meal. because we have to give good nutrition. So what this guy did, Mother Pandit said, oh, we are not supposed to feed eggs, but I can give you money, you purchase and feed them. It's as good as, slapping one's own cheeks, And our centers who are following him, who are just getting the numbers, they said it's better to drop out from the program altogether. This is how Kali Yuga is going to corrupt each and every activity in the mind of a devotee even, if he is not careful and following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Similarly, another case, Prabhupada wanted this big temple of, very planetarium in Mayapur, And one time Mother Pandit came, I will make it. Give me the permission. Even though he was not following the GBCs and instruction. Even GBCs were ready to make him GBC, to get his input. But he says, no, I will be lone person. I can do bigger than what Srila Prabhupada wanted. So GBC said, forget it. So he purchases so much land in Vrindavan and boasting to make a 700 feet tall temple. I want to make bigger than what even Srila Prabhupada says. Because this is exactly 350 feet high, the TOVP is constructing. All right? So I will do double that. So these are the nasty desires of a person, which are called corrupt desires, out of competition within the own. He doesn't want to, actually what Srila Prabhupada tells, when he started Akshay Patra, he quotes this, Srila Prabhupada telling that nobody should go hungry within the 10-mile radius of a temple. He quotes and graphically impresses that Prabhupada was sitting and taking his lunch and sitting near the window of his room, and all of a sudden the dogs were barking and one child was crying, and he saw from his window that the dogs are trying to pull out the plate from the boy's head, and he was crying. Everybody was defeating, and Prabhupada got tears in his eyes, he says, and he instructed his disciples by saying this, that nobody should go hungry in 10 miles radius of the temple. So it started Food for Life from Mayapur. This was in Mayapur. And I don't know whether it is recorded in official biography or not, but nonetheless he puts up this scenario to begin his Akshay Patra. The way he is taking instructions is something like Prabhupada is asking water and he is bringing a cup of milk instead. He says, no, this is better. And Prabhupada criticized this activity. No, provide whatever your guru is asking. Don't be overwise. And Gujarati word can don't die thawani jarur nathi. Right? Wise and a half. Don't die. He always thinks his thinking is better than Guru's thinking. So, Prabhupada emphasizes on this particular nature that please hear the instructions of Guru and Krishna very carefully and try to do within the limits of that instruction. Don't go overboard. It will bring prestige of him rather than Prabhupada. So this is the point. These are the effects of Kali. And Kali started corrupting the mind of even Brahman first. And then we hear so much degradation. Because degradation begins with this wrong application. Kali entered the mind of Shringi, the son of Samik Rishi, when he was out. And as soon as he came to his hermitage, he saw dead snake on his father's neck. Right? So, simply by seeing through material eyes, all the good character of this Brahman boy showed corruption. He does the thing not in sequential, with a steady mind, but he took an immediate insult on the entire Brahmin community. And therefore, the word Angirasya, the dynasty of Angiras Muni. Angiras Muni was one of Brahma's son by mental conception to become a Prajapati, and his descendant is Shanak Rishi. The father kept quiet and completely opposite demeanor, than a corrupt mind of his son. His son was affected by this age, the Kali Yuga personified, and instead of having the restraint, samaha dama tapa shaucham, he was careless about it. But nonetheless, because of being born in Angira's family, other virtues superimposed, and they can curse anybody. So thus, even in absence of Parikshit Maharaj, he can curse, targeting the person who did this activity of defiling a Brahman's prestige. All right. So here we see that it is a simple act, but it became the most pivotal act that turned out the fate of Parikshit Maharaj. So it is said that thus being influenced by Kali, he cursed the king and thus ended a chapter of happy history. Happy history means the Brahminical society must act according to the qualifications required. What are? Because that is the first principle for perfection in Varnashram system, that Attah Pambi Dvijasreshta Varnashama Vipakasha Swanutishtasya Dharmasya Samsiddhim Haritosha. Every activity of a Brahman should be targeted to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Cursing is not pleasing, and cursing is becoming ineffective even in advancement of Kali. Who cares about the curse? But previously the curse was due to the tapascharya so strong that it will definitely perform the activity of destruction. Curse means destruction. So, happy history of Vedic culture is finished. It is going to be degraded. Now, Kali Yuga is getting his chance to show the power of termination. It's a terminating Yuga. So it will start corrupting not only the minds of learned people, but also put up very strong opposition in the good activity for people's welfare. So anybody has any question on this? Yes.
Maharaj, please, I'd like to quote one very nice verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam as a commentary. This is Srimad Bhagavatam 7:13-34, and it goes like this. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, and unnecessary labor. The original cause of all these is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money.
Right. So it was supposed to be for disseminating the knowledge of the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, and Brahmins were the guiding principle for the entire other three classes of men in a society. So they were like head. And if that is corrupted, everything will be corrupted. So, in degradation of the society, if Brahmins are corrupt, then what to speak of Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudras? They will be also losing. Because the qualification of Brahmana is to overcome all the effects rather than succumb to the influence of Kali. Why do we need to become a Brahman even in ISKCON? Prabhupada's first and foremost activity, even in New York with the hippies, if you read in biography, he says, Prabhupada, we want to know what are your plans. And Prabhupada said, my plan is to make you all Brahmanas. Make you all Brahmanas. Because the true Brahmana character can be developed only after you become purified by Vaishnavism. Therefore, Vaishnava principle in Kali Yuga is the highest principle, and then you put into practice of the Brahminical culture. Today's Brahmanas, or those who are born in Brahmanas, they do not know Brahman. They forgot. And they are in not Brahminical occupation even. Prabhupada gives that famous example. Oh, when we were children, and we were playing in the streets, there was a family nearby, that Govindji temple, and they were Brahminical family, and they were supposed to be in charge of worshipping the deity, and so they would come regularly, but their children were not interested. So one of the member of that family didn't have any job, so he was pushing the cart and taking the load of merchandise from one place to another. Sometimes we see him pushing the cart with heavy loads, and in our childhood we were playful. We will call him Panditji, Pai Lagu, right from distance. And there the Panditji who is pushing the cart, he said, Jeete raho beta. I said, long live. Brahmins are supposed to give Ashirvad. They are benevolent. But how could you be benevolent if you don't have the qualification? He is not chanting Hare Krishna, otherwise why he should be pushing the cart? That is not Brahminical job. So it is topsy-turvy. Everything is upside down. So Prabhupada gives this example. Very hilarious. So, it's important. Qualifications are coming from being a Vaishnava. Develop the Vaishnava character, it will be higher than Brahmanical. And from that, or by occupation aspect, we can become Brahma. We can become Kshatriya. We can become Shudra or Vaishya, whatever it is. Otherwise, Kali Yuga has corrupted everyone and put in everyone into one category. Kalo Shudra Shambhavan. Everybody will be Shudra-like, not like Brahma. We can examine our lives. We are all Shudras. We were born Shudra. Janmana jayate Shudra, but karmana jayate Dvija. We choose, we are given activity to choose what do we want to become. So when Prabhupada said, my job is to make you all Brahmanas, he gives another example. When Bon Maharaj and another god brother, they are seniors of Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj sent them in Europe to preach in English before Srila Prabhupada went to the US. They can hardly make a dent. They were finding difficulties. People were interested in the prestige of the Brahman. So he said, Swamiji, I am a surrendered soul, but first you make me a Brahman. Brahmins are very prestigious and they know the history. Even Aristotle, either Aristotle or Pluto, whose disciple was Alexander the Great. Which time? I don't know, either of them. But Alexander said, my dear Guru Maharaj, I am going to conquer India. Oh, if you are going to conquer India, can you please bring me 2 gifts? I said, what? Bring me a Brahman and a cow. But Alexander the Great came up to Punjab, and at that time Puru, the great son of Yayati, he thwarted and was not allowed to even enter. He was defeated. But the Guru asked, if you ever conquer India. So that was the prestige at that time, what to speak. Means Kali Yuga's effect was not that much deeper than what we see today. And it's very glorious because other Western thinkers, they were also started thinking about the Eastern philosophy from the very beginning. And Prabhupada quotes this. Actually, they were the devout sons of Yayati, who he kicked out from the Vedic periphery when they denied to exchange their youth for father's old age. It's a beautiful story, but it's indicative of the virtues of character, virtues of character developed by those virtues. And it became the standard of the society. So today's standard of society is corrupt. And the degradation is the beginning point of degradation of Brahman. That who are supposed to be very tolerant by virtue of controlling the mind and senses. Shama, Dama. Dama is by force. You control your senses. Samaha, Dama, Tapa, Shaucham, Shanti, Rajo, Nevacha, Jnana, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavacham. So these are the 8 factors by which one can become a dedicated Brahman. But sorry, Kali is there. We have always ifs and buts. And we think, oh no, now I have a lot of money, I can do better than Prabhupada. Like that. So the spirituality, the Vaishnavism becomes the topmost priority. Then let the society be divided into the Varnashram system of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. So they will not forget the Vaishnava aspect. Otherwise, traditional Brahmins and traditionality is deteriorating. You can't simply support them. It is useless and waste of time. Better be Vaishnava. Instantly. Therefore, this transcendental process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is the most effective method to get full salvation in Kali Yuga. Any other question? Yes?
I just want Maharaj, there is the journal like Maharaja Parikshit gave 5 places to Kali to live in that, and one of them was gold.
Of course.
Yeah, and Maharaja Parikshit, this is general saying, it's not written in Bhagavatam, but he was wearing the crown and it was made of gold.
No.
And Kali entered through that, and then he put the snake, that snake, in the neck of the Rishi.
Prabhupada says that if Maharaj Parikshit wanted to counteract the curse and counteract the effect of the subsequent fall down of the Varnashram system, and even if he wanted to challenge the effect of Kali, he could have done it. But Krishna already gave the indication that even in such so-called opposite or undesirable transient phase, Parikshit knew that it is the time for Kali to take over. Therefore, while he was the king, he had to give him shelter. That's why trickily, when Kali was challenged by him, he surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj. The crown and other things are what we call circumstantial evidences. But the real evidence is through the desire of Lord Shri Krishna.